Welcome back, and thank you so much for watching Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday night at 9 o'clock. I really do appreciate it. Something, it might not be something you'd expect, but I've actually found a union, yes, a union that I can get behind. No, not one of those ones that shout and scream in the streets, intimidate foremen on construction sites and wield undue influence over the Labor Party or steal all your super money. This is a union that stands up for the individual rights of their workers. Take, for instance, the recent case in Queensland of the Palaszczuk government attempting to cut the pay of teachers who refused to have the COVID vaccine. Barely a peep from the Queensland Teachers Union on the matter. And here I was thinking they were supposed to represent workers and compassion. Silly me. The one group who has been standing up, not just for teachers, but medical workers as well, who have dared question the COVID orthodoxy and not believe their employment should be incumbent on them getting a jab. The one union is the Red Union. Naturally, they've been hounded by the mainstream union movement and particularly by the Queensland government, simply because they won't kowtow to the Labor Party like every other union movement. I'm pleased to say the CEO of the Red Union, Jack Maguire, joins me now. Jack, great to see you again. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Rowan. Thanks for having me.
Well, great. Now, tell us about the Red Union. Now, your membership has grown dramatically post-COVID. Give us a little bit of the history where you were around before, but what was the big catalyst during the COVID that got your Red Union up and really noticed?
Sure. Well, I guess our story goes back about 10 years when a group of nurses got together and they were unhappy with the Queensland Nurses Union and their affiliation with the Labor Party during the whole Queensland payroll bungle under Anna Bligh, which you may remember, which we're still feeling the aftershocks of now. We grew over many years, and their one stipulation was that there would be no political donations to any political party and no in-kind support to any political party. And I guess hence off the back of that, we can charge fees at half the rate. We trudged on for about 7 years. And we got big enough, they were mainstream, that a group of teachers came to us and said they really liked the non-political service offering. They liked a union that wasn't, necessarily so closely tied with the Labor Party. And we helped set up the Teachers Professional Association of Queensland. Then a group of drivers had tried to set up their own union, said this is really tough. So they came to us and we helped them as well. We then hit the pandemic. They brought in mandates. We went from, I think, at about 7,000 members then, we made the really quite radical, we've found out now, decision to say that if you're a individual and you're paying us fees, you deserve a service from us. And we went into bat for our members who didn't want to comply with the mandates at the time. They wanted to wait until more data came out, or for whatever their personal reasons was. And some had horrific medical conditions, which, really they shouldn't have got it at all. And we then saw all these other union movements sort of get in behind the state governments at the time, even the federal government. They're in lockstep. And then they had huge amounts of members crying out, wanting us to support them. So we had, a huge amount of nurses and teachers. We grew by about 10,000 members over the course of 3 months when those mandates came out, because we said that we'd be the union that would try and stand up to the government and provide a legal fight back option and a political fight back option for these members. We had a group of doctors reach out then. They were screaming out for some representation. So we set up a doctors union. We then set up a police union. We set up an independent workers union and rolled out nationally as well. So it's been a pretty wild ride over the last 4 months, right?
Absolutely, and you've done a great job. What I like is the fact that you are deliberately apolitical or non-political. And that allows you, as you've said, to have much lower fees because arguably many of the unions, a lot of ordinary workers' fees goes towards, as we know, propping up the Labor Party or goes into the various superannuation funds and so on. What I really like is that you are fighting for the battler. Now, during COVID, I've had on this show and other shows people like Graham Hood, the Qantas pilot, Alan Dana, the Jetstar pilot, Crystal Mitchell we had on the show last night, left the police, various people who were so brave that they stood up against the tyranny, the authoritarian leftist governments, but they were alone. They were completely alone and they needed some support. And here you are, you've been offering a union, non-Labor, non-political union support to help those people. I think that is stunning, and I think as many Australians should get behind you as possible. Tell us what your plans are going ahead for the future.
Well, I just had wished that we were better organised and in these industries earlier, because, I mean, unionism, I guess, is sort of like insurance. If you try and join a union or try and insure your house where your kitchen's on fire, you generally say no. But we took on all these people with pre-existing issues over the mandates, and it almost broke us financially, but we got through it, obviously, and we're doing well. But moving forward, there's a lot of litigation still to be pursued. We have thousands of matters before the Queensland Industrial Relations Commission, and you may have seen that the Queensland Labor government's trying to table a bill in Parliament to prevent us from being able to represent these nurses and teachers that are currently before the Queensland Industrial Relations Commission, and we are currently representing them and threatening to have thousands of matters before the Queensland Industrial Relations, thousands of people self-representing, which will just cause absolute mayhem and anarchy before the Commission. But look, if that's the way that the government wants to conduct their business and they want to take away people's right to representation and trash justice, I guess that's a matter for them.
Jack Maguire, thanks so much for coming on. October 11th is the day you're talking about. This is a big day for Queensland. On October 11th, two bills that I know about are coming up. One is to try and silence you and to stop you and the Red Union. So I urge Queenslanders to get onto their MPs and say, no way, let's stop that bill. And also for Queenslanders and other Australians to get behind the Red Union. This is what we need if we're going to take back these institutions that have gone so woke and so left. But the other bill, which I'll be talking about tomorrow with Gigi Foster, is this one to try and get doctors to obey whatever the government consensus is. So where can people contact you, Jack?
Well, they can go to our website, but I guess just very quickly, Rowan, the reason why the Queensland government is coming after us, it really does come down to dollars. If you look at, we're charging half the price of the traditional union movement. We're turning over about $6.5 million. That means that there's $13 million per annum that's not going to the regular union movement. But just quickly, some maths, what they stand to lose, though, with some competition in this space, is that they have to then reduce their fees to charge closer to what the cost of service provision is. So if you look at what the actual cost of service provision is, if you've got 20,000 members like us, it's $400 per member. If you've got 60,000 like the Queensland Nurses Union, it's more like $300 per member. So if you're looking at a gap then between what they charge at $700 per member and what it actually costs at $300, there's about $400 times by 150,000 nurses and teachers in Queensland.
I can't do the maths. I can't do the maths, Jack.
Per annum.
42. There you go. You've done the maths for us. Jack Maguire, I've got to go. Sorry about that, but thanks so much. And I urge people to get behind and find out more about the Red Union. Coming up, another example. Go woke or go broke in a second.